Hi, I'm Sammy Murrian, and this is a movie review from Rehab. I've been wanting to get this review out for a little while. It's about time that I talked about The Handmaiden. This is the latest film from writer-director Park Chan-Wook. This is from South Korea. The Handmaiden is a period piece set in Korea under Japanese colonial rule. This is about a young woman, a pickpocket named Suki, who is called upon to partake in an elaborate con. I don't want to tell you anything more about the plot because this is a mystery film, this is a thriller. The less you know about this plot going into it, the better. The only other film of Park Chan-wook's that I had seen before seeing The Handmaiden is Old Boy, probably his most well-known film. Sorry, I have not seen his other films yet. Trust me, after seeing this, I definitely plan on it. I do know a little bit about Park Chan-wook though, and his background. I do know that he started out as a film critic, actually, of all things. Several very good filmmakers started out as film critics. I think being a film critic right off the bat made Park Chan-wook really a master of story structure, of picking movies apart, taking them all apart, putting them back together again. Both of the movies of his that I've seen are marvels of story structure. I also know that Park Chan-wook is widely known as a master provocateur, as someone who shocks. His movies are very shocking, and he's well known for that. He's very well known for horror movies and for being very subversive, very shocking. One of many things that I just love so hard about The Handmaiden is Park Chan-wook with this film seems to have pulled off something of a con himself. Filmgoers are so used to being shocked and, just truly, his movies are just so well known for being so subversive, so shocking, so what? With The Handmaiden, he's subverted subversion and done something really shocking in making what is essentially a warm-hearted romance. That's what The Handmaiden is. That's what the essence of this movie is. It's a thoroughly warm and truthful romance. I mean, it is a Park Chan-wook romance, to be certain. It is also grotesquely violent here and there in a couple places. There's some very shocking violence. Also, this film is very frank in its depiction of sexuality. Much has been said of this movie's sex scenes. They are explicit and really, really push the R rating, to say the least. I loved the sex scenes in this movie. Loved them. I absolutely love the sex scenes in this movie. I just think it's great. I am a fan of sex scenes and nudity in general, period. I think that we are so uptight about bodies, about our bodies, about other people's bodies. I think that movies should be filled with naked people a lot of the time. Not all movies, but a lot of movies. I am so in favor of more nudity in movies. I can't overstate that. And these sex scenes in this movie they're very frank, they're explicit, they're very sensational, and they're just marvelous. I think some naysayers will, some people with sticks up their ass will accuse Park Chan-wook of maybe exploiting the male gaze and or having his cake and eating it too with these sex scenes, being exploitative. I didn't find that to be the case at all. I thought these sex scenes were really truthful and beautiful, really, really great. You know, and they are essential to this romance, to this movie, which is, at its essence, a romance. First and foremost, this is a romance. That's not all that The Handmaiden is, though. The Handmaiden is an exquisite, sumptuous period piece. This movie is bloody beautiful. The production design, the set of this mansion in which most of this movie takes place is just great. This mansion in which this movie takes place seems to evolve and change shape according to what is needed in the story. It's just marvelous, and Park Chan-Wook and his cinematographer have this way of the camera is almost always constantly moving in this movie. It is a very dynamic camera. Rarely is the camera stationary, and there's a real way of making these sets look even bigger than they are. This movie is huge. Don't watch this movie on a TV. Just don't. I saw it on a screen. I'm gonna try to see it on a screen again if I get the time. Don't watch this movie on a fucking TV unless you have like one of those $120,000 wraparound TVs, and even then, try to see this movie in a theater because it is just exquisite and sumptuous and This movie is also something of a marvel of cross-pollination between the East and the West. This movie is based on a novel called, I believe it's called The Fingersmith, which is set in Victorian England. Only that story here has been transplanted to Korea under Japanese colonial rule. But this story and this movie really evoke many noteworthy works of English literature and English and American film. This movie is very reminiscent of Gaslight, of Rebecca, and the work of Daphne du Maurier. There's something very English and familiar about this whole story, and I guess, okay, yes, some of it's familiar, but for the most part, this movie is just wildly, absurdly, thank you God, original and new and exciting. The Handmaiden feels like the work of a filmmaker at the peak of his powers, at the absolute height of his powers. Like I said, the only other Park Chan-Wook movie that I have seen is Oldboy. I will change that as soon as I can. I'm really low on time lately. Oldboy, such an influential movie. I mean, one hell of a movie that, you know, super influential. Every film student knows Oldboy. Oldboy also seems like the work of, you know, an enfant terrible. Not that that's even a bad thing. Just, it seems like the work of an enfant terrible who's, just a young filmmaker. The Handmaiden is an enormous 2.5 hour long period piece epic that is every bit as light on its feet as Oldboy was, if not more so. This movie seems so effortless. It's a fusion of romance, it's a puzzle film, the whole movie is a mystery up until the very end. It's a dark thriller with some really dark, sick, twisted elements. All these things that shouldn't go together well, but they just fit perfectly, and the movie is so light on its feet and it's brisk. And just, I mean, the icing on the cake of this decadent, very light, exquisite cake that this movie is that it's a really satisfying romance too. Like a genuinely satisfying romance that touched my heart and felt like two souls coming together and overcoming obstacles to be with each other. And that's also something that I think comes from Park Chan-Wook being an older director, really at the peak of his powers. I mean, you gotta be kind of old and, you gotta have lived a little bit to really be someone who makes a satisfying romantic film. When was the last time you read a great love story written by a 25-year-old. The Handmaiden is the most entertaining movie I have seen all year, without a doubt. I was just gobsmacked by every second of this freaking thing, and I really wanted to get a review out because this movie is out in a limited release right now, and I want to tell you, like, go. If you have an opportunity, whatever city you're in, just trust me on this one. Tell them Sammy sent you. Just try to see this movie on the big screen because it's brilliant. I also think at some point I might want to deconstruct this movie a little bit more on my channel, so let me know if you like this review and if you would like to see me possibly really deconstruct this movie, because I think this is a movie that is definitely worthy of that. There's so much in this movie. This movie's huge. There's so many elements of this movie that make it great, and you know, what's really awesome is how watchable and light and brisk and entertaining the whole damn thing is. A master of, shock cinema has made a genuinely touching romance, and I think that's just a great ta-da, a great hat trick. On a side note, this movie would make a great double feature with another film that is out in limited release right now, Elle. Both The Handmaiden and Elle are erotic thrillers. Thrillers about sex. And about women who use sex to obtain different means. Without going into too much spoilers for either movie, because I don't want to spoil a damn thing about either one of these movies. Maybe think about these two movies as a double bill, because both of them are two of the very best movies of an astonishingly great year for movies. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning into my channel. I appreciate your support so much. I can't even tell you. I read every word that you guys write, and it just really does mean a lot to me that you have stuck it out with me while I've been bouncing back and forth between Los Angeles and Tennessee. I promise that I will be in Los Angeles for good very soon, and it will all be worth it. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Take care of yourselves, keep in touch, and be well, everybody. Bye-bye!